Hello, everyone. Jason Seibel here. Hope you're doing fantastic and enjoying your time sheltered in place. I want to pass along a follow-up video from the one I sent last week. This is in regards to kind of the market update post-Fed federal rate cut. So let's hop right in. Last week, the Fed committed to investing in Treasury, so mortgage bonds, recycling, refinance mortgage bonds, and this week there's a stimulus package in the works. Started out in $1 trillion, and I've seen a Republican proposal at 1.8 trillion, and now the Democratic one from this morning is at 2.5 trillion. One of these things is going to be in play here pretty soon. So, economic impact: the U.S. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin estimated that unemployment could be at 20%. I've heard ranges all the way from 18 to 30. It just kind of depends. But consumer spending has dropped pretty much overnight. Industries are starting to get banged up, like airline, auto, tourism. If you take a look at GDP and how this impacts on our economy, but the world, 68.5% of the United States GDP comes from personal expenditures, which are screeching to a halt. And then you turn that around and show, globally, we're a quarter of the global economy. So if we're not spending, everybody's getting hurt. Coronavirus continuing to spread. We have limited test data, but what's coming in is growing quickly. I think there's 18 states now that have shelter-in-place orders across the country, mine included. And this is just going to be a GDP and economic crusher to some degree. So I want to put a quick slide in here explaining the concept of flattening the curve. You see some really smart people on TV talking about this, but I think they do a great job of explaining it in English. So I want to do a quick walkthrough of this. This is a bell-shaped curve of what is expected with coronavirus if we do nothing. And you see this flat line here is, we only have so many hospital beds, providers, people who can help. So the whole reason for this shelter-in-place movement is it's not about the number of cases. It's just about dividing it out over a longer period of time so our healthcare system can sustain itself and continue to serve people who are sick, which is super critical. How does this impact mortgage rates? Well, you've got between the stimulus and quantitative easing, as much as $3 trillion in bonds are going to be sold. And when you have this much paper that hits the market all at one time, it's going to create a supply problem, which is going to drive interest rates up to create demand and entice people to come in and buy all this debt. The stock market's down 33% in the last month. S&P down 31%. Your treasury bills down 53% in the last 6 weeks. Mortgage bonds, you'll see a chart that's been all over the place of late. What is real unemployment rate? What is real GDP? Nobody knows. We're going to figure that out here shortly. So when will this magic carpet ride stop? Well, we need more data points. So we need more coronavirus testing results so they can model and see what, where, why, how. Is this going to be a 2-week deal? Is this going to be a 4-month deal? And then we need economic figures to come out. Given the fact that people aren't able to work, and what does that really look like? And these results are going to be intertwined. These two items are going to drive what happens next. So if you take a look at new cases in Korea here, how they went up and went down, they're kind of through it. Italy is now looking to be on the down swoop of new cases. If you look in the U.S., we're just pretty early in the curve. So we need to hurry up and get test results so we know what we know and can model this effectively. And then that's going to lead to the ability to repay. So high unemployment leads to mortgage defaults. And unlike a treasury bill, which is backed by the full faith of the United States government, if you don't have the money to make a bond payment, they just print it. But the underlying asset of a mortgage bond is the real estate behind it. So if people can't pay their mortgage, that could impact home prices and devalue the mortgage bond, which is what people are afraid of currently. How does this impact lenders? It limits the number of buyers of mortgage bonds due to risk. A close friend of mine who runs a hedge fund, and in our conversation over the weekend, even though the mortgage bond's at a 2.5%, and maybe the yield on that based on price, let's just call it 2.25%. The risk premium associated right now, and what it would take to get institutional investors to come buy that with a lack of data and knowledge about what's going to happen in housing and what's going to happen in employment, it's probably additional 6 to 8% above and beyond the rate. So I mean that's not feasible, right? It's going to keep people off, and what's going to happen is it's going to increase hedging costs and delivery costs, because if these loans that are being closed don't have the ability to be sold off, they're funded on a line, and then you've got an investor who buys them. If they can't be packaged up and sold, it gets very expensive. The difference between the interest rate the customer is getting and the line of credit is probably somewhere between 2 and 3%. And then if you can't get it off the line and you have to go to an alternate investor who comes in and says having to pay 80, 90 cents on the dollar, lenders are going to lose quickly and be in a lot of trouble. They cannot take those kinds of losses. It's not built into this level of volatility. Is just not built into the price that was made available when that loan was locked. Let's take a look at the 90-day mortgage bond chart. So interest rates really started to take a change for the worse. I know I personally locked about 15 clients, right here in this window. And here's what's fascinating. So as bond prices got better, this is where lenders had capacity issues, and even though prices got better, interest rates didn't move. In some cases, they worsened. I can tell you, I had a couple of calls on March 5th, and I looked at this and I'm like, wow, interest rates should be 3/8 to a half point better than what we're seeing in the rate sheet, and it had to do with capacity, able to deliver and execute and close these loans. Servicing runoff, meaning servicers were getting crushed because they were losing profit because the loan was not enforced for 2.5, 3 years for them to be able to make money based upon what they paid for. And then you get all this mess here. Look at the last 8 to 10 days of trading. This is just obnoxious, right? Now look at these swings, and you could see in one given day, you could see a 0.75% to 1% interest rate up and down over the course of it. It's just, we've seen it historically, but it just doesn't happen very often, and which is why it's leading these lenders to pause, because they just don't know what they don't know. So what do I think is going to happen next? I think capacity is going to be resolved within 30 days. The pipelines are starting to close out. The Fed is committed to buying mortgages as long as needed to help stimulate the economy. And the smart people in the room are all looking for data points on coronavirus, on economy, to determine what's the time frame for things to start stabilizing. And once that happens, you'll see lenders bring pricing back, utilizing revised risk models, but it'll come back in play. So bottom line is schedule time to strategize and review your situation with someone you trust. Be prepared when the opportunity presents itself to save money and be able to execute. And also, let's take a moment to reflect and see where we can help others. There's a lot of industries, your bellman, your hairdresser, they're getting banged up from this. They can't serve their clients because they're forced to be at home, and you can't cut the hair of somebody virtually. It just can't happen. We're blessed that we get to serve and do what we do at my company 100% digitally if needed. That's not across the board. So love and support these people in their time of need, and we all just need to rally. Tough times never last, but tough people sure do. So if you have any questions, reach out to me by phone, text, or email, and all the best.